Hi everyone, so I hope you can all hear me and see my screen, of course. Welcome to the UBCUK and Enterprise Nation webinar. I suppose just a short introduction before we go into Luan's. Of course, she's doing an advisor webinar later on, which will all be about kind of social media do's and don'ts. So before we go into that, it'd be great to kind of give you a short introduction on who Enterprise Nation are, how we're working with the UBC UK, and of course the opportunities which are there for you as businesses within the UBC centres, and of course how we can support you and your business to help you grow and scale. So I suppose we're of course joined by the teams across the UBC UK centres today, and of course the businesses within those centres, who I'm sure will be joining shortly as well. We've got the lovely Luan, who is also joined the team in UBC, so hi to Luan as well. And of course, as I had mentioned, she'll be doing a really informative presentation on the social media do's and don'ts. So we are, of course, launching the partnership today with UBC, and we're looking to provide access for more business support to those businesses, to give them more kind of the tools to grow and scale, and of course empower you to attend events, to network, to pitch your ideas, and of course our whole mantra at Enterprise Nation is all around those businesses that access advice grow quicker than those that don't. So we've created a platform, we've created a community which we would love for you to join, and of course kind of join the community and grow and scale your brand. So we're all very excited, and first I want to just quickly run through kind of how the sort of page works in terms of Enterprise Nation. So this is the kind of landing page that you'll get to, and it's a really kind of simple sign up process, and of course UBC will be sending kind of a follow-up email to the individuals that have joined onto the webinar today. So if I just go on to the next slide, so just a bit of background on what happens when you sign up and what you access, because there's a lot of kind of different features that Enterprise Nation roll out day to day. So we want to make sure that we keep you as informed as possible. So there's a kind of short video which I'll kind of talk over, which will talk about more the key features, the events, the opportunities for you to access as a business. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email me and I can help you with the platform as well. So just to start off with, so our kind of main aim of the platform was for a small business to make connections, find answers, get noticed, and of course save money on different elements of their business as well. Now, when you log in, you'll get through to a dashboard, which is really simple and easy to navigate, and it's a way for you to search and connect with other small businesses like yourself. You can find key content or business resources, depending on what you need help with. But also a big thing for us is actually tailoring content which will be useful for you as a business. So let's say, for example, you're a fashion and jewelry brand. What we want to do is we want to push relevant events which are near your area, or for example relevant content like, for example, this webinar, which will benefit you to, of course, in the end help you grow your business and get your brand out there. So this is a new feature which has just gone live, and it's all about tailoring content for your brand. So of course the more information that you fill out on your profile, the more that our other small businesses can understand about you as a brand and a business. We also have a great new feature which has just gone live. So as we're talking about fashion and jewelry brands, let's say you're a business which is product based, we have something called a small business showcase, where essentially you as a small business, if you have a piece of jewelry or maybe a particular piece of food and drink, you can actually showcase your products on the Enterprise Nation platform, and different businesses or advisors or the community can actually connect and purchase those products through the platform as well. So it's a great feature which went live, I think it was last week, and it's one to kind of drive engagement to you as a business as well. So just following on from that, the next sort of thing that we kind of drive in terms of the platform is our events. Now, we hold one event across the UK every day, and this is another thing that we're going to be collaborating with UBC on. So we've made it really easy for you as a business to search for events. Now you can search just by location, you can search by category. So let's say, for example, you're a food and drink brand you're thinking, or you're growing your business at the moment and you'd actually like to pitch your brand to a particular retailer, for example. So what you want to look for is one of our Meet the Buyer events, which you'll be able to see. As I say, you can filter by sector, different campaign, and more importantly, by the region as well. We have different event types, and as a member, you'll be able to receive 25% off our costed events, but also there's a lot of free events in there as well. You'll also be able to see on this section the different kind of, if we're doing an online webinar like we're doing today, you'll be able to access those as well, which will be all featured within the events section. So just following on from that, we also have a lot of content. So we understand that it's quite hard for businesses to kind of attend events all the time, but we also love to put the opportunity of different content that we believe is relevant for you. So again, we've made it very easy to search 10 years worth of our content, which has been driven completely by what our community wanted of small businesses. Different partners that we work with, so giving us really great content by their founders, really good advice content. So there's lots of kind of webinars, podcasts, ebooks, downloadable content, which we think is really important for you and the team. So let's say, for example, you're kind of the marketing person within your team, you see something very relevant for the sales team on how to grow their brand via social media, for example. Maybe it's a post written by Luan, who's put it onto the platform. You can also share that content with them and kind of empower the team around you so that you're all kind of looking at similar content and you're all kind of on the same wavelength of, okay, this is what we need to do to build the brand out, for example. Very similar to the events, you can filter by categories, so you might need accounting advice or legal advice, and of course by campaigns and business sector as well. The next kind of key feature is, of course, the people. So we've built a community of 70,000 and it's all for you to empower each other essentially. So we have the community of advisors, so individuals like Luan, but also Luan is a small business herself. So we have different categories where you can filter. So this is all about empowering you as a small business to access advice for free, but also you can access paid advice, but you can see transparency on pricing as well. So let's say, for example, you've just launched a new product, but you're actually unsure on the IP, for example. You can actually find someone who has the knowledge to do this and help you out, and you can filter by region. So let's say you'd like to meet them face to face. You can filter by whether they're an approved advisor for one of our campaigns, but all of our advisors have been approved, but also they are rated and reviewed by the community as well. So let's say, for example, you click into Alison's profile. Straight away, you can see her profile, you can see her transparency on pricing, how much you would be paying, and of course, more importantly, you can have that free 30-minute call with Alison around the particular topic that you want to cover. You can have a free 30-minute call with as many advisors. So this is the whole idea around our small businesses shopping around for advice and getting the right advice for them. So we see a lot of our businesses, brands talking to different accountants, asking the same questions, and accessing that advice to ensure that they're growing and scaling at the right time. So kind of other key features when you go into their profile, it's all about building the understanding around, okay, I'm going to access some sort of advice from Alison, but there might be something that I want to ask her more specific. You can see her specialisms, her posted content, and most importantly for us, you can see ratings and reviews on Alison. So you can, it's completely, the market is dictating kind of which advisors are relevant to your type of business. So just finally, just a few key features that we want to bring your attention to. We have a great discovery tool where you can essentially answer 10 questions about your business. We have a Brexit advice service tool, which is actually a free feature. What happens is you answer 10 questions and we'll actually start pointing you to relevant content, so recommended advisors, offers, different content from across the platform, and that's all to help you grow and scale. So that again will be when you first land onto the platform, people tend to take the discovery tool and then maybe in 3 months later take the discovery tool again and then just sort of see, okay, I've taken the social media advice. How have I grown my business in the past 3 months by taking that advice as well? Just finally as well, so we actually have a lot of different offers that we run with our partners as well. So as you can see there, we point people to different offers, and these are essentially the best savings that we can work with our partners. So We have savings with iStock, Headbox, Eventbrite, Moo, the kind of printing company. So lots of different things which you can use as well to help you with your business. So just finally, before we move on to Luan's kind of presentation, I suppose just to sum up, what we're kind of doing with UBC is very important for us, because we believe that a lot of our community are working, collaborating in co-working spaces, workspaces across the UK, very similar to UBC, of course. So how do we bring more events with your help? How do we build more of a community with you all? And that's, of course, we're doing a lot of different events. We have a lot of content that we would like for you to access, and we have a lot of opportunities. So one big opportunity is we hold number 10 visits once a month, where you speak with the advisor to the Prime Minister around small businesses. And it's all about you talking about your challenges as a small business, perhaps talking about how Brexit will affect you, or how GDPR has affected you, etc. Different opportunities that we can really surface for you. We have huge events, and of course the UBC team can talk to you about this. And also Luan can probably talk to you about this as well, but we hold unique opportunities that no one else really can hold at this sort of scale. For example, Meet the Buyers. If you're a food and drink brand and you're thinking of, okay, now I want to get in front of kind of different retailers, we can actually put you in front of the likes of Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Boots, Harrods. You can meet funders. So let's say you're looking to grow the business and you want access to funding. Again, we can give you access to the funders, and you can of course meet journalists as well to help you grow the brand out even more. So thank you so much for kind of listening to our introduction of Enterprise Nation and who we are and our story. And of course, if you have any questions, please do email me. It's just polly@enterprisenation.com. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Luan, who, as I said, is actually based at one of the UBC centres. So if I just get her involved in a second. So she's been an Enterprise Nation advisor for a long time now, and she's going to give you some social media advice on the do's and don'ts around social media. So over to you, Luan.
Let's just check. You can see my screen, okay?
Yes.
Hear me okay?
That's great. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, yes, I'm here in Cirencester with people around the table with me. Thank you for listening over lunchtime. So I'm just going to talk for about 20 minutes on some social media do's and don'ts. Whether you're new to social media or this is something that you're doing as your main job, hopefully there's something in here, and it's a Friday afternoon, so there's some fun tips as well as some serious stuff for you as well. We've got some time for Q&A at the end as well. So if you have got any questions, then please pop them in the box at the end. Just click through. So these are do's and don'ts in no particular order at all, but I thought I would start with what's really important about social media is that you don't just dive straight in. You don't just think, oh, it's brilliant, this is something free, I can download the app to my phone and start posting messages to the world. Particularly in a business role, it's really important that you have a social media policy for your business, or whether it's just you as an individual, that you do actually spend some time having a think about your own do's and don'ts, what kind of things you will post, what kind of things you won't post, what you might engage with in terms of content, what you might not respond to, etc. And that you create some sort of messaging plan around that, so that you have some core themes, that this is the kind of stuff I'm going to post on my social media accounts, and that if you are working with an organisation with colleagues, that you share that with your colleagues as well, so that everyone in the business knows what you're doing with your social media accounts. It's not just something for the marketing team. And it's really important because many people will be using social media platforms, whether that's their own Twitter accounts, Facebook, or particularly LinkedIn from a business perspective, that if people are using social media within your organisation, that you offer some training and development as well for that. And in terms of using social media, it's really important that you don't try and do everything. There's lots of social media platforms. To try and do everything would be a full-time job, and even if it is your full-time job, you know, it's really difficult to keep on top of everything. So the purpose behind this image is that you fish where the fish are. You focus where it counts in your business, and you focus on the social media platforms where your customers are. Where your customers are hanging out, that's where you need to hang out. And when you are hanging out and you've set up social media accounts, whatever you decide to use, what's really important is that you're not anonymous or mysterious. You're not just this kind of no photo logo on there, that you are set up to make a really good first impression. And some of those things in terms of having your account set up are having a good profile photo, a sensible, professional, head and shoulders shot profile photo, that you use a real username on there, that you don't try and be mysterious, and that you personalize all of your accounts as well. I call that a vanity URL, but that's just making sure that whether it's your LinkedIn URL, your Facebook page, your Twitter, that it is personalized and relevant for your business. Throughout the setup of your social media accounts, you should use keywords. Just as important as with a website is people are using social media to find you, to find your business, to find your skills, to find what you're doing. So you need to use keywords throughout the setup of your profile. And branding is really important as well. So branding your page, branding your images. And if you do need help with setting up any of these profiles, I've got some links that we can send out with the slide deck afterwards, some course material for that. But even once you've done it, it's not a tick box. Yes, I've set my profiles up, job done. You've got to keep this stuff fresh. You've got to review it. You've got to keep it up to date. You've got to keep it relevant to what you're doing in your business. And something really important, and it should be part of your policy as well, is that you pay attention to detail when you're posting on social media, when you're setting up your accounts. And I've just got a few examples in a second for you. But one of the main things I think is really important, that you always double check that your links work, and you don't share content that you haven't read. Don't just share things because the headline looked right. You know, always click through to the article, have a long read. It may be a brilliant article, but if the call to action on there drives people to look at your competitors' websites or buy your competitors' products, you don't want to be sharing it. And it's this kind of detail that is really important on social media. And I've got a couple of examples here. Some of these are fairly old, but you know, they're classic examples. eMarketer, an organisation, posted on Twitter. More than 1/5 of UK consumers use Twitter. Do you? Well, they've posted it on Twitter, so of course the answer is going to be yes on that platform. You know, it sounds, you know, so I looked at it and went, that's slightly crazy. Another great example is BlackBerry. You know, keep up with the conversation on Twitter, they're posting, but actually they're posting from an iPhone. So, you know, big kind of mistake. You know, people spot this stuff and people like me just think this is brilliant, I can use it in a presentation. I've included this because I think this is a really good time of year and I would urge you to watch out for this. And this is when you are mentioning people on Twitter in particular, that you mention the right account. The Twitter handle for John Lewis is not @JohnLewis. It's also recently changed, but there is a gentleman in the US who is John Lewis and has the Twitter handle @JohnLewis, and he has the best sense of humor that you will ever come across. As soon as their Christmas ad is out, he's getting messages all day, every day, and he's responding and managing this stuff. Some people may not have that sense of humor. You may be tweeting the wrong people. So, you know, absolute attention to detail. If you're using social media in any shape or form, you'll know that hashtags are really important. They're a way of grouping conversations. They're a way of getting your content found. It's really important, you know, that you identify the right hashtags for your business, for your content. 2 or 3 on Twitter. LinkedIn have brought hashtags back. They're being used somewhat on Facebook, but more by marketers running campaigns. They're really, really important for Instagram. My top tip here is don't overuse hashtags, and do your hashtag research. It's a Friday afternoon, so if you have got any spare time and you need an excuse, Google Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon, because there's a brilliant YouTube clip of the 2 of them having a conversation completely using hashtags, and it kind of completely shows you that if you overuse them, you do sound a bit crazy. So, you know, write in the right way. And check your hashtags as well. It's really important that, you know, sometimes you'll see trending hashtags, trending topics, people do jump on these, get involved. Sometimes it's not always appropriate to get involved on trending hashtags. And this is one great example of Cheerios trying to get involved when, sadly, Prince died. And this was a classic kind of response, really, kind of mysteriously, somehow, my love of Prince and my sadness at his passing has transferred into a love and desire for Cheerios. You know, it wasn't relevant particularly for some big brands to get involved in the conversation. There's all sorts of examples of this around bad weather experiences and people talking about hurricanes, and, you know, it's just not always right. It's good to get involved in trending topics, but maybe not always the right thing for your brand to do. And checking your hashtags, I'll just let you look at this slide for a moment. The important thing about hashtags is that there are no spaces between them. So it's good having a few people in the room with me. You know, sometimes the spacing doesn't quite work out. So it is really, really important to do some work and check those hashtags. Yeah. And going back to this kind of social media policy and do's and don'ts and what you should post, this is where it's really important to have those guidelines and consider within your business what's right and what perhaps shouldn't have been posted. And just a couple of examples here. Luton Airport probably isn't appropriate to post because we're such a super airport. This is what we prevent you from when it snows. Sharing. Wow. Yes. You know, it does reflect on the brand. It does have an impact. Maybe isn't quite the right thing to do. And there is also a really classic example of HMV when a number of employees were being made redundant. There was lots of kind of closed door conversations going on in the office, and whoever was responsible for the Twitter account in the time was literally live tweeting, people are losing their jobs, this is happening, you know, sorry we've been quiet, we're under contract, can't say a word. You know, it's really important to manage what's going on in your business and be aware of who's tweeting, what they should be tweeting and not. Now, we may talk about this in the Q&A session. I've had a couple of client meetings this morning, and social media can be a huge time suck. It can be really overwhelming, but actually it's all about managing your time. And there's some brilliant scheduling tools, which means you can run your life on timers and have this content going out there, which is a really good way to manage social media within your business and to make sure that you can be consistent and that you're always posting. But sometimes scheduling can also go wrong. This post from Tesco, again, it's a few years old, but it's quite a classic. This might not seem a problem to post, it's sleepy times, we're off to hit the hay, see you again at 8 AM in the morning, but this was posted and scheduled right in the middle of the horse meat scandal. You know, if this was scheduled, this is what a social media manager should go in and tweak. So, you know, sometimes it can really backfire. Another example, whoever was tweeting for Starbucks was obviously managing a UK account, an Ireland account, and went on to the Starbucks Ireland, you know, happy hour is on, show us what makes you proud to be British for a chance to win a Frappuccino. Didn't quite work. Now, the wonderful thing about social media as well is that it can be really useful to get your audience involved, get your customers involved, get them creating content for you, sharing pictures of their product being used, sharing your services, you know, sharing at your meetings. But again, we need to be slightly aware and concerned about this. And whether these next examples are successes or failures, on that I'll leave you to decide. But again, McDonald's launched a hashtag campaign encouraging people to share their McDonald's stories, and again, some of those maybe not quite as positive as McDonald's were hoping for. Waitrose are kind of, you know, at the other end perhaps of a scale, launched a campaign saying, finish the sentence, I shop at Waitrose because. Look at these slides later, you know, these are absolutely tweets that mocked middle-class shoppers. I shop at Waitrose because if you buy a full tank of helicopter fuel, you get 10% off champagne. You know, again, you know, is that a bad campaign? Is it a good campaign? It's up to you. But it's just, you know, things to always be aware, or at least be monitoring what's going on. So to bring this back to some more sensible, perhaps, do's and don'ts. The important thing on social media is that you don't just broadcast. This isn't just me, here's my products, here's my services, buy my stuff, watch my courses, come to an event. There's got to be more to it than that. It's got to be social, and it's got to be a conversation. So make engagement your top priority. When you're writing social media posts, write them so that someone does want to respond to them, whether it's saying congratulations, or well done, or yes, I'd like to come to that, or commenting on it, right to start the conversation. Encourage that involvement, ask questions, start discussions, let's discuss, or what do you think? And run competitions as well. Always think about adding value to your audience, having those conversations, sharing information that they will find useful, rather than just posting broadcast stuff that switches people off. Some other things that I come across are, I need lots of followers, I need lots of likes, I need lots of people on my Twitter account and Instagram. How do I do that? What's really important is you focus on quality, not quantity. You want the right people to be engaging with you and to be following you. Yes, it's important to have a good sized audience, and that good size depends completely on what you do and your product or service, or the sector or location that you work in. But don't buy followers and likes. You may see some of these, buy 10,000 followers tomorrow. They will all be spam. They won't get you anywhere. They won't sell your products and services, and they'll add no value. So really focus on getting the people that you want to be in your audience, and providing content that's interesting to them. How do you build your audience? Well, just don't forget to tell people you're on social media. I visit lots of websites to look for people's social media accounts, and quite simply, there's no icons along the bottom or example feed. So make sure you've put it in your website. Add it to your email signature. Make it really easy. Add it to your business card. Add it to your marketing literature. It's probably more important now than it is than putting your physical address. We don't need fax numbers on there anymore. So let's put our social media contacts on there too. Going back to content, whatever social media platform you're using, use a mixture of words, images, and increasingly important is video as well. And I think what's really important in terms of the content that you are posting is that if it's relevant to use images, then use images. And as Polly said earlier, there is trips to number 10 Downing Street with Enterprise Nation, and I was lucky enough to be one of those groups last year. So yes, I did take a selfie outside the the big door, and I posted it on social media. So that was relevant for an image. Videos, live videos, pre-recorded videos, people really do engage with those as well. So don't make it just about words. Try and mix it up and make it interesting for your audience. There's no quick wins on social media. Buying followers, being really busy and really hectic. There are no quick wins to this. It's about being consistent. It's about thinking about your audience, sharing content that's relevant to them. So don't expect overnight success. It could take 3, 6, maybe more months to start getting results from social media. So do think long term. When social media does work, well, it works when it is a strategic fit for your business. And by that, I mean, it's got to be aimed at achieving your business goals or helping you to achieve specific objectives. It's not just doing it because everyone else is doing Facebook. It works when you use the right tool for the right job. By that, I mean the right social media platform for you, for your business, and for your audience. So you need to know your audience. You do need to have a social media plan. In terms of your messaging, times you're going to post, the keywords you're going to use, the calls to action, etc. And that's a big part of the work that I do is social media planning. And it also has to be completely integrated across your whole business. As I said at the beginning, this is not just a marketing thing. It's really important that if you have colleagues, that you all get involved in this as well. Whether you're actually posting or whether you can help your marketing team by giving them some content, telling them feedback from your customers, telling them the networking events you're going to, sharing some photos. It's really important that everyone gets involved in this. So that was quite a speedy do's and don'ts. I will hand back to Polly to check through the chat box if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Luann. That was really good. A very sort of light-hearted webinar for a Friday. I loved it. I was chuckling away on mute here to myself. But yeah, no, a very good webinar. And I think just to kind of reiterate what Luan's been talking about, so we, Enterprise Nation, talk to small businesses day in, day out. And what we've seen over the past 2-3 years is we, of course, support businesses from the moment they have that light bulb idea in their kitchen to when they're growing and scaling their team to move into office space kind of with 10 people now. And social media has been a really big part of that. So a lot of the events that we hold, we find a lot of our engagement between our small businesses and them then going on to sell more of their products has been through different hashtags that they've tailed on to the back of, say, Enterprise Nation. So another thing that I think Luan mentioned is try and build kind of different partnerships with maybe bigger corporates where you can actually tag on to their social media following a little bit. So say, for example, when we mention different member stories and stuff like that, we have a huge following. So we want to shout about our member stories and get them in front of as many people as possible. So yeah, I mean, as always, any questions, please send them to Luan if you have something a bit more kind of specific to your business. But we do actually have 2 specific questions for you, Luan. So number 1 is, you mentioned social media scheduling. Can you name a few tools around doing this?
Scheduling, I find, is really important. It's a balance of how you manage your time and posting content out there. So within Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, then you can schedule straight on the page as you type your post in. Instead of the schedule button in the top, bottom right hand corner, there'll be a downward arrow and it will allow you to schedule and choose the date and time that you want to post. I personally use Hootsuite as a social media management tool, and my reason for choosing Hootsuite is because it allows me to schedule to all the social media platforms within it, and it sets up things really nicely. I have everything on my screen in columns, so I can look at all of my social media accounts, I can look at my news feeds, my inbox, my messages, my mentions, all in columns, which makes it easy for me to manage as well. I particularly like Hootsuite. There's a free version, which is absolutely fine, and you can manage up to 3 accounts in there, or for a small monthly fee, there is a paid for version, which means you can manage more accounts. But what I particularly love about the paid for version is that I can create loads of content in a spreadsheet and then bulk upload that to Hootsuite as well. So if I have my core messages, or I'm running a big campaign and I want to plan everything out beforehand, I can do that, upload it to Hootsuite. But of course, if there's anything that happens in the world, or unfortunately national disasters, things like that, I would always check what's going on in my scheduled columns, so I don't make the same kind of mistake that Tesco's made with kind of being inappropriate in there. So Hootsuite's my personal favourite. There are many others. I know a lot of people like Buffer as a management tool, Social Post, Recur Post, things like that. If it was specifically for Instagram and you're a visual person, then I would use a tool called Planoly, because that allows you to kind of see in advance what your grid is going to look like. So I will send a list of these to Polly so that we can circulate those with the notes as well.
Nice one, thank you, Luan. And I think one, just to kind of tail onto the back of that, so Enterprise Nation launched their platform in April, and we of course wanted to spread the word. So social media kind of runs through Enterprise Nation completely, and we used a great tool called Thunderclap, I think it is. Luan, correct me if I'm wrong. And it's one of those where, let's say you have a big launch, or you're launching a new product, or you have a new service which you're putting out there, and you want to spread the word and try and get a trending hashtag. So Thunderclap is one of those which you could send to your email base and say, this is the tweet that we're sending out, would you also be able to post this at 11 o'clock at this time? And they just simply have to press one button in the email, and that will go into their Buffer or Hootsuite plan of scheduled tweets. And it's a great kind of tool to spread the word quickly and get maybe a trending hashtag within your area or within your sector. But again, that's one that it was a personal favorite of mine, kind of working through social media specifically. Okay, next question is, how often should we post on social media? Which is a really good question. So do you have any sort of guidelines on this?
Is sometimes a bit chicken and egg, you know, how often do I need to post? I think what's more important with social media is that your entire plan isn't based around, I need to do 3 posts a day on a platform. But if you have a plan and you know what kind of messages you're going to share, then consistency is more important. and making sure that you're posting that's relevant to your audience rather than posting for the sake of needing to post X number of times a day. But in terms of guidelines, and actually I should share as well, you know, through Enterprise Nation, I've been lucky enough to go to Facebook for some Facebook and Instagram Train the Trainer. That's part of my advisory role. And their advice in terms of Facebook and Instagram was 5 to 7 times a week. So again, being consistent, you know, that's for kind of, you know, maintaining your presence and visibility. You could obviously do more if you've got more content, but 5 to 7 times a week on those platforms. And on Twitter, the pace of Twitter is so much faster. So, you know, a tweet probably, I think it lasts kind of 20 minutes now. So you do need to post several tweets a day, but Twitter's also a platform that it's easy to identify when your followers are online. One particular tool I use for that is Twiriad, and that does some research amongst my followers and tells me what time of days they're most likely to be online. So, for example, I know that most of my followers are online between 3 and 6 p.m. So I will schedule my tweets between that time. Just means I'm not wasting so much time throughout the rest of the day that things will get lost. On LinkedIn, I would advise, again, consistency, but it's a much slower platform. Not everyone logs in all day, every day. So even if you just did one thing a week or one post a fortnight, that's probably still enough to stay active and be in front of your audience. So consider your audience, write content that's relevant, but be consistent more than kind of ticking a box for X number of posts a day or a week.
Nice, thank you so much, Luann. I think just to tail onto that point as well, and I think you mentioned it earlier in your presentation, is the posts are really important, of course, because you're talking about your brand, you're talking about your business, your product, your services, but it's the engagement with the customers as well. Now, if someone shouts about your brand, make sure you respond to them. And I know sometimes, of course, it's hard to always kind of engage with them, but that response with a customer over Twitter and with a potential customer, other people will read that as well. So treat your responses to other customers as kind of a potential tweet as well. So I think always that engagement with the customers is really important. We're all out of questions, we're all out of time as well. So Luann, thank you so much. And of course, thank you to the team at UBC UK for putting this on. And of course, happy Friday, everyone. Now you can of course get access to this presentation, which we'll send across with the slide deck as well from Luann. Any other questions, as we say, please email Luann or myself, polly@enterprisenation.com. Thank you, everyone.